Nigeria's GDP making up consumption expenditure, which will mean that if we are actually taxing 5% of consumption, Nigeria should have gotten about 4.7 trillion naira of taxes. I mean, using 2018 data.
Yeah. Oh, we lost him. We'll try to get Robert back, City of Lagos. We do apologize for that. Something with the phone lines. Doc, how did you feel when you saw this? Because, the first reaction with a lot of people was like, oh, kill us now. We're ready to die. And, even I kind of went with it a bit. It's just a slight bit. And I thought to myself, then I said, hold on. Well, I just decided to think, what's the average in Africa? What's the average across Africa? And I saw the numbers and I started to think to myself, okay, maybe we need to rethink this thing.
I'm going to sit on the fence on this one because I think Nigeria is kind of between a rock and a hard place right now. Yeah. And I think that there's a huge gap between sort of perception and reality in terms of our finances. So when you speak to the average sort of Nigerian on the street, right, they say, that Nigeria is very rich. People, like literally, if you go outside onto the street, you'll see somebody that will say that one politician has $100 billion in his account. That there are politicians in Nigeria that are richer than Bill Gates. So we have, a different perception of how much money is actually available. In terms of our revenues and in terms of what we're able to generate. And actually, if we look at, the data, then it shows Nigeria is actually in a very, very difficult fiscal position right now in terms of our revenues. When we set our budget, almost 70% is spent just paying back money that we've already borrowed.
Loans,
We've been continually in a huge deficit, meaning that we're borrowing money to pay our bills. We don't make enough money right now to balance off with what we're paying out. So Nigeria's financial situation now requires quite drastic measures, I think, to try and balance our books a bit better and at least get our tax to GDP ratio
at a better place.
Yeah, slightly higher so that we can start providing those essential services. The budget of New York, for instance, which has a population of 9-10 million people, is higher than the budget of Nigeria. So you can imagine, even the budget of San Francisco, even the budget of San Francisco City is about $10 billion. And they have how many? Less than 1 million people, around 1 million people, and it's $10 billion. And with our 200 million people, our budget is just over $20 billion. So can you see this tiny, town, consuming? And you know what? The funny thing is, right, in California, there's still a lot of homeless people. They have more homeless people than almost anywhere in America. When you go down, I think they call it something row, right, where all the homeless people are, you see people that have lost their homes, people that don't have healthcare, and they have this massive budget. Their economy is bigger than the whole of Africa. So I think that in America, they actually have a problem of distributing. They have so much money,
wealth, but a problem
of distributing
properly.
But in Nigeria, we're not even really generating the wealth, first of all.
Talk less of distributing it.
Yeah.
Robert just joined us again. Robert, thanks for joining us again. You were saying, Doc was just talking about the tax to GDP ratio. It's still very poor. We're talking about. Somebody even said if we can ramp it up to 20%, we would be significantly well off. But right now we're at a position. And do you Robert, do you think, because you said something about it could be attributed to laziness? Could it also be that the government is not actually coming out to tell the people, see, we have issues, we don't have money? Because I believe if that was made clear to a lot of people, the backlash as concerns increasing VAT might not have been there.
So the point here is naturally people don't want to pay taxes.
Of course.
And in the situation that we are in, where fiscal revenue is significantly challenged, we need to get to the point where, as part of the efforts of government, they need to engage the populace, to say, come, this is the situation that we are in, and tougher times are ahead. But the point I'm trying to make here...
Lord!
Robert, don't say this.
Okay, not this early in the morning.
Excuse me. So the point I'm trying to make here is It is true that our tax to GDP ratio is low, currently at around 6%. But I'm saying that in itself is the laziness of government. Without increasing tax rates, listen to me, without increasing tax rates,
you can be able to still,
Look, Nigeria's GDP is consumption driven. So we have 79.5%, or depending on the data you're looking at, I think as for 2018, it was 73% of our GDP that was made up of consumption expenditure. If you tax that at 5% value-added tax, you should have gotten about 4.7 trillion in VAT, but we got only 1.1 trillion. Definitely, there are so many Nigerians that are still not paying taxes. There are so many consumption going on out there that
is still not taxed.
Because about 57% of our GDP is informal. So what is the government doing about this in ensuring that people are, consumption are adequately taxed? And when you look at it, different principles for taxation, there's a principle about convenience and fairness, in taxation. When you look at the value-added tax that we generate, two states, let's say Lagos and FCT, generate 75% of our value-added tax. Lagos generates 55%.
That's another point to look
FCT generates only 20%. Three other states, Kano, Kaduna, and Rivers, generate additional 12%. So we have about 5 different states generating 87% of our value-added tax. In Lagos, for example, not only do you pay value-added tax of 5%, you also pay additional consumption tax of 5%. So that's only 10% in Lagos. So what you're saying essentially is the value-added tax for Lagos
is probably about
12 would increase to around 12.2%.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not consistent with the principle for taxation in a situation where you generate 75% from 2 states. And the 36 states will share the entire money.
Mr. Robert,
I mean,
what can we do, though?
Mr. Tunji, I know you're asking the questions, but can I just ask a question?
No, please do.
I'm really interested to hear your perspective on how other countries have managed to do this. How do you tax people that spend sometimes 80, 90% of their income on food? How can you tax people that don't really have an identity? How do you tax people that don't have bank accounts? How do you tax people that might not even have birth certificates? We don't know that they exist. How do we start to tax those kind of people that, as far as government are concerned, are ghosts? They don't have access to finance. They don't have access to banking services. They do most of their transactions in cash. Some of the stuff, a lot of the people, they eat what they plant. So how do you now start taxing their consumption?
Again, that's what I'm saying, that the lazy way of doing it is what the government is trying to do. Increase VAT. Even if you take VAT to 20%, I mean, you won't expand the net. You're only going to, and I worked the math. At the rate at which you're collecting, this 7.2% only adds 484 billion naira additional income.
484 billion. Yeah, that's
484 billion. That's what he had. But you could potentially get additional 3.6 trillion without even increasing it. So the question is valid, that truly, how do you now start taxing people that are largely informal?
Yeah,
how do you tax that barber, in front of your house?
Yeah.
Like just struggling to do his business.
So Robert, I just even thought of something. I thought of the markets. How do we get VAT from the market?
Oh yeah, we collect tax from large open markets. Tax is collected at least in Lagos State.
The large open markets,
tiny rural markets.
Yeah.
Do you know that Nigeria has the highest population of extremely poor people in the world? How do you start to tax those people?
I think it's about also bringing them into some sort of system where maybe there's, I don't know, it's the chicken and egg situation right now, because we need them to be taxed, but we need to create a system for them to be included.
I mean, this idea of taxing hungry people, I don't know how to do it. They haven't eaten.
Now, this is the issue. So what we are advocating now is, so the few that are already paying, again, when I say the government is adopting a lazy approach, what I'm trying to say in this sense is that it is true, you may not have the moral ground to say, oh, let me tax people that are living below $1.02 per day. Nigeria is poverty capital of the world. Even if you want to tax them, how do you get it done? because again, there are no proper, there are no
documentation
proper
methods. Yeah, these people are not even financially included in any way. Yeah,
and they are malnourished. They're not even eating enough.
Sure.
And again, yes. So the point is that I think the issue we're trying to advocate for here is that it is clear that government needs more money, for us to be able to get out of the current fiscal conundrum
we are in. On one hand,
we are proposing 2020 budget already, when 2019 is barely we are barely scratching the surface.
Yeah, we've not even done anything as concerns that.
Government doesn't have money, but most of us don't get it yet. We are in a fiscal mess because when you look at the amount of should I say overdraft that is being advanced to the government from the central bank, it is worrying, But that's not to say that the government should relax. There are people who are not within this abject poverty bracket who are not paying taxes. There are people who, I was discussing with someone that the supermarket where I shop in my area, there are about 2 of them. None of them charges VAT on what I pick up, and these are standard supermarkets. Yes. So whether they have built in the prices, into what I'm paying, that I'm not aware of. But from the bill I get, I don't see any charges for VAT. These are some of the areas where the government needs to still
can do some more. At least we can get some little more from those areas,
Exactly. Again, so to get it clearly, so when we say that 73% of consumption expenditure is from the household, if you work the math of those who are living below $1.02 per day, and you analyze the figure, it's nothing close to the consumption expenditure that Nigeria, incurs on an annual basis, which will tell you that from the figure of that consumption expenditure, those who can be taxed are those who are within that bracket, not those that are living in abject poverty.
Yeah.
And that's the point where the government needs to be much more serious.
Put an
Nigeria
eye on
there
it.
are ingenious ways. There are ingenious ways
Nigeria
that we can collect taxes.
I totally agree. Because there almost seems to be several Nigerias, right? You're in some particular places, there's so much affluence, there's so much champagne wasting, and then there's another part of the same Nigeria, which, you are amazed at the abject level of poverty that is to the amazing. Okay, so I even saw something yesterday, this Vox Pops people do, and they went around societies and they were asking the question of, can families live on 100,000 and 150,000 naira a month, and a lot of people were going 150,000, of course, that's a lot. And I had to do a quick math and and I could realize that a lot of people would probably think 150,000, are you kidding? That's not possible. But the reality of so many families is that they probably might not see that 150,000 maybe even a year. As a total consumption level. So it's a general situation with Nigeria where I don't know how we're going to do it, because when you think about it, a lot of the times you see that for you to tax them, you have to bring them into some sort of inclusion net that costs a lot of money, so you're going to spend a lot of money. So at the end of the day, I kind of agree that this is the easy way out, just increase VAT and just let's move on, because I'm sure they probably looked at all the options. Fowler's probably said we need to increase the tax net, and they're like, so how do we do that? They're like, we have to spend 3-4 something billion, and they're like, can we just increase this and move on? Yeah, so I guess that's it. It's not yet implemented, City of Lagos. It's likely to be in 2020, but we'll continue to follow that story for you.